Good morning, guys. We'll continue with the discussion of synopsis part. I think in the last class we have discussed about the percentage composition of elements, how to determine the percentage weight of an element in the given compound, and from the experimental data we have seen the determination of various elements. In this class we will discuss the different types of basic concepts such as empirical formula, molecular formula, and the relationship between empirical formula as well as molecular formula, and we will discuss some questions based on this method of determination of empirical formula as well as molecular formula, and we will see the stoichiometric calculations of certain examples. Right? Let us continue with the first basic term, that is, you should know what is meant by formula. What is meant by formula? Formula is actually a group of symbols. Formula is a group of symbols of elements of one molecule of a substance, Generally, a group of symbols which represents a molecule of substance is called as formula. Basically, there are two types of formulas. The first type is called as empirical formula. Empirical formula we call it as. Right? Now, empirical formula is a type of formula which generally represents, right, it is the simplest ratio. It is the simplest ratio of atoms of all the elements, that are present in one molecule of a substance, right? And there is another formula which we frequently use, is that molecular formula, right? Rather than empirical formula, we are very familiar with the molecular formula. It is the exact number of atoms of all the elements, that are present in one molecule of a substance. For example, if you are talking about a molecular formula of, let us take a substance C6H6. This is the molecular formula of benzene. It is, what is this? It tells us the exact number of atoms of each element present in a molecule. Benzene is made up of by two elements which consists 6 atoms of carbon, 6 atoms of hydrogen. And if you are talking about the empirical formula of benzene, which will become CH, it is the simplest ratio of the atoms of the elements that are present in, right? They are present in 1:1 ratio. This is the simplest ratio of which represents empirical formula. Empirical formula of, what is this? Formula of benzene it is, right? Suppose if you are talking about glucose, C6H12O6, this is the molecular formula of glucose. If you are talking about empirical formula, it will become CH2O. This is the empirical formula of glucose. Now, if you are asked what is the relation between molecular formula and empirical formula, right? If you are talking about the relation between molecular formula and empirical formula, right? Molecular formula is equal to empirical formula into N. This is the relation. Molecular formula is equal to empirical formula into N, where N is the ratio of molecular formula mass upon empirical formula mass. Right? Now, let us see how to determine the empirical formula and molecular formula from the given data. In order to determine the empirical formula as well as molecular formula, first of all, you need to find out the weight percent of each element present in a substance by quantitative analysis. Generally, the method we use for the determination of weight percent of an element present in a compound by quantitative analysis. We have discussed in the last class how to determine the weight percent of various elements by quantitative analysis. Now we will discuss about the determination of empirical formula and molecular formula. We will discuss with an example. Let us have a question, right? A substance found to have from the quantitative analysis of, right? Generally the weight percent we get the information from the quantitative analysis. From the data of quantitative analysis, a compound has 40% of calcium, 12% of carbon and 48% of oxygen. Find out its empirical formula. This is a question. Here he has given the, from the data of qualitative analysis, a compound has 40% of calcium, 12% of carbon and 48% of oxygen. Now he is asking us to find out the empirical formula of the compound. First of all, the compound is made by three elements: calcium, carbon and oxygen, right? Calcium, carbon and oxygen, right? What are the percentages given? Percentages are given: calcium is 48%, carbon is 12% and oxygen is given calcium is 40% and oxygen is 48%. So when weight percent of an element is given in a substance, the method to determine the empirical formula is that, first of all, this percentage weight of the element should be divided by its atomic mass in order to get the relative number of atoms of the element. What you have to do? The next step is that you have to divide the given percentage mass with the atomic weight of the element. So this 40% must be divided with the atomic mass of calcium, that is atomic mass of the calcium is 40, and 12% of carbon is given. This has to be divided with the atomic weight of carbon, which is 12. And what is the percentage weight of oxygen? 48, which has to be divided with its atomic number. What is the atomic number of oxygen? 16. So this will give us the relative number of atoms of each element present in the compound. So what is the relative number of atoms of calcium? 1. What is the relative number of atoms of carbon? 1. And what is the relative number of atoms of oxygen? 3. That means this is the simplest ratio. It is nothing but the simplest ratio of the atoms of all the elements present in the molecule. So now in order to write the empirical formula, what you have to do? You have to write all the elements side by side. What are the elements? Calcium, carbon and oxygen, and write their relative number of atoms or simplest ratio of the atoms as a subscript. How many number of calciums are there? 1, need not to write 1. How many number of carbons are there? 1, you need not to write the 1. How many number of oxygens are there? 3, you have to write the 3 subscript as a oxygen, right? So the formula will become CaCO3. This is the empirical formula. Right? In most of the times in the questions, you will be given with the weight percent of all the elements present in the compound, and you will be asked to determine either empirical formula, or you will also be asked to determine the molecular formula by giving certain additional information regarding molecular mass or vapor density or something else like that will be given in the question. By using the data, you have to determine the molecular formula as well. Let us see one more question. In the last question, we have seen how to determine the empirical formula. We will discuss one more question which will tells us to identify the molecular formula. Right? You have a question. A compound is found to have 80% of carbon and 20% of hydrogen. If the molecular mass of the compound is 30, then determine its molecular formula. Right? Here also what he has given? He has given the weight percent of element present in the compound. Along with that, he has given the molecular mass and asking us to determine the molecular formula. In these cases also, first of all, you need to determine the empirical formula. What is the procedure to determine the empirical formula? What are the elements given? Carbon and as well as hydrogen. And what are their percentages are given? Carbon is present in 82% and hydrogen is present in 20%. And what is the next step? You have to determine the relative number of atoms of all the elements by dividing the given percentage with its atomic number. So, what is the atomic number of carbon? 12. And atomic number of hydrogen? Sorry, atomic mass we have to use. Atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. So, how much it comes? It comes 20 by 3, right? 3 4s are 4 20s are, it goes. And how much it comes? It comes 20. Now, if you see here, the relative number of atoms is not actually a whole number, it is a fractional number. In such cases, what you have to do? You have to divide the relative number of atoms of each element, right, with the lowest number of atoms of element, right? Here, what is the lowest number? See, here it comes, divide, this will be the 20 by 3 will be the lowest relative number of atoms, and rest of the relative number of atoms also must be divided with this 20 by 3. Now, if you, in order to get the actual relative number of atoms or the simplest ratio of the atoms of all the elements, now if you have to divide this 20 by 3 upon 20 by 3, this will also has to be divided by 20 by 3, which comes to be, right, it comes to be 1 and it comes to be 3. This is always the relative number of atoms has to be in the integer values, it should not be in the fractional values. So, if the relative number of atoms are in fractional, then you have to multiply, you have to divide it by the lowest relative number of atoms of a element. And even after that also, if you get a fractional value here, this fractional values has to be multiplied with the lowest integer value to get a whole numbers ratio. Now, what is the empirical formula? Here empirical formula of the compound is carbon and hydrogen. What is the number of atoms of carbon? 1. What is the number of atoms of hydrogen? CH3. If the empirical formula is CH3, then what will be the empirical formula mass? Empirical formula mass will be 1 carbon atom 12 grams and 3 hydrogen atoms means how much it comes? It comes 15 grams, right? And what is the molecular mass given? Molecular mass is given is 30. So, if you know molecular mass as well as empirical mass, can you calculate the n? What will be the n value? N value will be what? Molecular formula mass. It is the ratio of molecular formula mass upon empirical formula mass. What is the molecular mass? 30. And what is the empirical formula mass? 15. What will be the n value? 2. So, that means, right, what will be the molecular formula of the compound? Molecular formula of the compound will be equal to empirical formula into n. So, what is the empirical formula? Empirical formula is CH3, right? And what is the n value? 2. So, what will be the molecular formula? It will become C2H6. That means, what is the compound? The given compound is what? This is a molecular formula. This is how you have to determine the molecular formula from the given information, right? Now, what is this compound actually? This is ethane. Right? This is another way of asking a question from the concept of molecular formula and empirical formula. There is one more way of asking question. We'll try to solve one question on different ways of asking of questions. Right? Now, in the last two questions what we have discussed, in that he has given the percentage weight of the element in the compound, but it can also be given the ratio of the weight of the elements in the compound. We'll see another example of such type. Now, let us see. Assume that a compound contains carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen in 9:1:3.5 weight ratio. He has given the weight ratio of carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen. The molecular mass of the compound is 108. Then find out its molecular formula. So here also the same type of question, but he has in a different way. Instead of giving a weight percent, here he has given the weight ratio of all the elements present in the compound. What are the elements present? Carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen are present in the compound, and what are their weight ratios? 9:1:3.5 ratio, and he has also given the molecular mass 188. So how to determine in such cases? Here also the same thing. What are the elements given? Carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen. What are their weight percentages are given? Weight ratios are given. It is 9, it is 1 and it is 3.5. So this weight ratio also has to be divided with corresponding atomic masses to get the relative number of atoms, right? Now divide the 9 with 12 because atomic mass of carbon is 12. Divide the 1 with 1, atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. Divide 3.5 with 14 because atomic mass of nitrogen is 14. Now what you will get here? Right? You will get this will comes to be 3/4, right? This will comes to be 1 and this comes to be 1/4. Since the relative number of atoms are in a fractional number, you have to divide the relative number of atoms of each element with the lowest relative number of atoms, right? Now what is the lowest number here? This is 3/4, right? This is 1 and this is 1/4. 1/4 is the lowest number, so you have to divide all this with the 1/4, right? Nothing but you can write it as so divide this 0.75 with 0.25, right? 1 with 0.25 and 0.25 with 0.25. This comes 3 times, this comes 4 times, this comes, right? Now you got the empirical formula of the substance. What is the empirical formula of the substance? It contains right? See, what are the elements given? Carbon, hydrogen and nitrogen. What are their relative number of atoms? The simplest ratio of their atoms. Carbon is 3, hydrogen is 4, nitrogen is 1. This is what we call it as, this is the, actually what we have got here, it is empirical formula. Empirical formula we call it as C3H4N, right? Now, what is the empirical formula mass? Empirical formula mass is, right, 3 carbon atoms plus 4 hydrogen atoms plus 1 nitrogen. How much it comes? 36 plus 4, 40, 40 plus 4, 14, 54 it comes. This is the empirical formula mass. And in the question he has given us molecular formula mass. What is the molecular formula mass? Molecular formula mass is given 188. From this what we can find out? We can find out the N value. What is the N value? It is a molecular formula mass upon, what is this? Empirical formula mass. So how much it is given? 108 upon 54. How much it comes? 2. So from this, what will be the molecular formula? Molecular formula will be equal to empirical formula into N. What is the empirical formula? C3H4N into what is this? 2. How it comes? C6H8N2. This is the molecular formula of the substance. Right? This is how you have to determine the empirical formula as well as molecular formula from the given information. There are also some other different types of asking which we will discuss while discussing the objective questions of the particular concept. Hope it is clear so far. Then we will discuss about the stoichiometry. Right? Stoichiometry is nothing but right? It is a type of branch of chemistry which deals with the evaluation of or interpretation of data from the balanced chemical equation. A study of balanced chemical equations. Right, or balancing of chemical equations is basically considered as stoichiometry. Right now, interpretation of relation molar ratios of reactants and products, or you can also say interpretation of weight ratio or relation of reactants or products, or you can also say volume ratio of reactants and products, is basically considered as stoichiometric calculations. Now, before going for the discussion of this stoichiometric calculations, first of all we need to understand what is mean by. If you have a balanced chemical equation, you can establish various relationships such as how many moles of reactant will give how many moles of product, or if you want to get a particular number of moles of product, how many moles of reactant should be participated in the reaction. Such type of data can be elucidated from the stoichiometric equation. So it is a branch of chemistry which will deal with the balanced chemical equations. Right now, first of all we should know what is mean by chemical equation first. Right, chemical equation basically represents a chemical reaction. Right, chemical reaction is basically it is a chemical change where two or more than two substances will react with one another to produce a new substance. Right, what are the substances that are undergoing chemical changes are called as reactant, and what are the substances that are formed by the change of chemical change are called as product. Right now, balanced chemical reaction or balanced chemical equation, we call it as balanced chemical equation. It basically consists equal number of atoms of all the elements on both sides of equation. For example, if you have an equation, reaction of hydrogen gas with oxygen gas to produce water vapor. Right now, if you look at this particular equation represents a chemical change, hence we call it as chemical equation, whether it is balanced or not. So if you see here, there are two hydrogen atoms on the left side. These two are called as reactants, right, and this is called as product. We are already familiar with this, but I am just giving the idea. So here there are two oxygen atoms, but here only one oxygen atom on both the sides, left side and right side. All the atoms of all the elements should be equal. So but hydrogens are balanced, but oxygen is not balanced. So you have to make it balanced. Why we have to balance a chemical equation? Because we know that all the chemical reactions obeys law of conservation of mass. What this law of conservation of mass is? According to the law of conservation of mass, during the chemical reaction there is neither creation of mass or loss of mass, and whatever the matter is that will transform into one form to the other form. Based on that, you need to balance the weight of the reactant must be equal to the weight of the products. So because of that, we have to balance the chemical equation. So what we do, we take 2 moles of hydrogen, which gives us 2 moles of water. Now this equation is called as balanced equation, right? So from the balanced equation you can establish various relationships. Suppose here we say this 2 water we are using, this is called as stoichiometric coefficient. What we call it as? Stoichiometric coefficient. This stoichiometric coefficient will tell us, right, on what molar ratio the reactants are getting reacted to give the number of products. It tells us the molar ratio of reactant with the product as well as, or if you know the molar ratio, you can also establish the weight ratio, or you can also establish the volume ratio, or you can also establish the number of atoms in which they are reacting. So such type of data can be interpreted from this stoichiometric equations, right, from the balanced equation. First of all, whenever you are dealing with the chemical equation in stoichiometry, you have to first balance the chemical equation, right, for the interpretation of various relations, such as it may be molar ratio, or it may be mass ratio, it may be weight ratio, or it may be weight to mass, weight to volume, or volume to weight, weight to moles, etc. Now before going for the discussion of stoichiometric equation, you should also understand another 2 terms. The terms are, these 2 terms are very important. One is called limiting reagent. Limiting reagent we call it as. In short we call it as LR, right. Another one is called excess reagent. First of all, we see what is mean by limiting reagent. The reagent which is present in less quantity, or the reagent which gets first consumed in the reaction and limits the amount of product formed, is called as limiting reagent. What is mean by limiting reagent? A reagent which gets consumed first in the reaction, right? Or the reagent which is present in less amount. Generally it is, that is the reagent present in less amount is known as limiting reagent, right. The amount of product that is going to formed in a chemical reaction will be decided by this limiting reagent. Since it is present in smaller amount, it will decide how much amount of product is going to be formed in the reaction, right. Now second one is called excess reagent. Right. The reagent which is in excess is known as excess reagent. You need to remember one more important aspect of this limiting reagent and excess reagent, that these type of establishments are only applicable for the reactions having more than 2 reactant. Reactions having single reactant, there is no criteria of limiting reagent and excess reagent. The concept of limiting reagent as well as excess reagent is applicable for the reactions, chemical reactions that are involving 2 or more than 2 reactants. If there is only one reactant, that one reactant will give the water the quantity of the product is going to form. So there is no criteria of which is limiting and which is excess. Now if you want to understand this, let us see with an example. Let us take an example that in the form of question, right. Ten grams of hydrogen reacts with 96 grams of oxygen, right. Find out the limiting reagent and excess reagent, right. Excess reagent is asking us to find out the, If 10 grams of hydrogen gas combines with 96 grams of oxygen, is asking us to find out limiting reagent as well as excess reagent. So what is the equation between hydrogen and oxygen? Right, first of all, this is the equation. So you need to balance it because we have to deal with the balanced equation in stoichiometry. So what will be the balanced equation? In the question he said that what is the weight given? 10 grams is getting reacting with 96 grams. So determine the number of moles of hydrogen as well as oxygen. If weight is known, can't we determine the number of moles? Divide the given mass with the molar mass of corresponding substance. What is the molar mass of hydrogen? So the number of moles of hydrogen present in 10 grams of hydrogen will be 5. And what about the number of moles of oxygen? The molar mass of oxygen is 3. That means in 10 grams of hydrogen there are 5 moles of hydrogen. In 96 grams of oxygen there are 3 moles of oxygen. Now how to determine which is the limiting reagent and which is the excess reagent? In order to determine this limiting reagent and excess reagent, right, what are the number of moles are there as per the given question, divide those number of moles with the stoichiometric coefficient of the corresponding reactant. Here the stoichiometric coefficient of hydrogen is 2. So in order to identify the limiting reagent, so what you have to do, you have to divide the number of moles of each substance with the stoichiometric coefficient of the corresponding reactant. So here the stoichiometric coefficient of hydrogen is 2. So the relative number of moles, how many are going to be participate here? Here the stoichiometric coefficient is 1, so 3 by 1. That means here the number of moles are how much it comes? 2.5, it comes 3. Now which is limiting reagent here? Which is limiting here? There are total 2.5 moles of hydrogen is going to be participated in the reaction, whereas 3 moles of oxygen is there. So we call this hydrogen is limiting reagent and oxygen is excess reagent. In order to identify the limiting reagent, the given number of moles of each reactant must be divided with the stoichiometric coefficient, right? Whatever the ratio, the lowest ratio will be the limiting reagent. If 2 moles are getting reacted with 1 mole, right, 2.5 moles are required, 5 moles, isn't it? If 2 moles required, if 1 mole of oxygen required 2 mole of hydrogen, 3 moles of oxygen required 5 moles of hydrogen gas. But how many moles of hydrogen gas is present? 2.5 moles only. So because of that reason we call it as limiting reagent. Are you getting? How many moles of water is going to be formed in the reaction? So if 2 moles of hydrogen undergo reaction, it gives 2 moles of water. So 2.5 moles of hydrogen undergo reaction, how many moles of water will be formed? 2.5 moles of water will be formed. This is how you have to identify the limiting reagent from the given question. So what we say? We can also say hydrogen is limiting reagent and whereas oxygen is excess reagent, and number of moles of water formed will be number of moles of water formed. How to identify this? If 2 moles of hydrogen gives 2 moles of water, then 2.5 moles of hydrogen will give how many moles? It will give 2.5 moles of water, right? And you may also ask the number of moles of oxygen left unreacted. How many moles of oxygen is left unreacted? How many moles are there total? 3 moles are there, right? Now if you see, basically we know that, alright, if 2 moles of hydrogen reacts with 1 mole of oxygen, then 2.5 moles will react with how many moles? 2.5 moles will react with how many moles? Just make a cross multiplication. How much it comes? Alright, 2.5 upon 2, which comes to 1.25. If 1.25 moles are going to be reacted, how many moles will be left unreacted? How many moles will be left unreacted? See, in the reaction out of 3 moles, 1.25 moles are moles of oxygen is undergoing reaction, right, is reacted, right. So number of moles of oxygen left unreacted is total number of moles minus number of moles reacted. How many number of moles is reacted? 1.25. So number of moles left 1.75. You may be asked anything out of this, the number of moles of oxygen left unreacted, or number of moles of oxygen participated in the reaction, or number of moles of water formed, or what is limiting reagent and what is excess reagent. This type of data can be asked from the concept of limiting reagent and excess reagent. Hope it is clear. Now we will see from the concept of stoichiometric calculations, you may get different type of relations such as mole to mole relation. We will see some calculation based on the mole to mole relation. We will discuss this with an example. The question is that find out number of moles of oxygen, number of moles of KCl and oxygen formed by 1 mole of potassium chlorate, right. Is asking us to find out the number of moles of KCl and oxygen formed by 1 mole of potassium chlorate. First of all, you need to know when potassium chloride is thermally decomposed, it gets decomposed to potassium chloride as well as oxygen gas. And let us try to write the balanced equation for this decomposition of potassium chloride. When it is heated, it will be converted into potassium chloride plus oxygen gas. Is it balanced? No. So number of oxygens are not balanced. So let us take 2 moles of potassium chlorate. On decomposition it forms 2 moles of potassium chloride as well as 3 moles of oxygen. Now it is balanced. So what is their molar ratio? 2 moles is undergoing decomposition to give 2 moles of potassium chloride and 3 moles of oxygen. And what is asked in the question? If 1 mole of potassium chloride undergo, how many moles of potassium chlorate as well as how many moles of oxygen is obtained? This is called mole to mole relation, right. If 2 moles of potassium chlorate gives 2 moles of KCl, how many moles will be obtained? Only 1 mole. The number of moles of potassium chloride formed will be 1 because they are reacting in 1:1 ratio. If 2 moles goes 2 moles, if 1 mole goes 1 mole. Right. What about if 2 moles of potassium chloride is giving 3 moles of oxygen, and what about 1 mole will give? Right. If you are talking about 1 mole, what it will come? It will be 3/2. Right. 3/2 moles of oxygen will be formed. This is called mole to mole relation, right. Suppose you may also ask, weight to mole relation. Weight to mole relation means, now let us see, suppose assume that find out number of moles of potassium chloride and oxygen formed on decomposition of 367.5 grams of potassium chlorate. Now instead of giving moles, he has given the mass of potassium chloride undergoing decomposition, right. So what is the balanced equation? KClO3 gets decomposes to 2 moles of KClO3 gets decomposed into 2 moles of potassium chloride plus 3 moles of oxygen. So what is the number of moles of potassium chloride undergoing decomposition? He has given the mass. From the mass we can calculate the what is this number of moles. What is the mass given? 367.5. And what is the molar mass of potassium chloride? Potassium chloride molar mass is that potassium will be 39, chlorine will be 35.5 and oxygen is 48, which comes to be 122.5. So the number of moles of potassium chloride undergoing reaction, from the mass we can calculate the number of moles, right? Now 3 moles of potassium chloride undergoing decomposition. If 3 moles of potassium chloride is undergoing decomposition, how many moles of potassium chloride will be formed? 3 moles only. If 2 moles gives 2 moles and 3 moles will give 3 moles. And what about the number of moles of oxygen formed? Right? If 2 moles gives 3 and 3 moles will give, it's just a cross multiplication. What is this? 3 into 3 by 2. Right? How much it comes? It comes 9 by 2 moles. This is we call weight to mole relation. Right? We'll see one other relation. The third type we called weight to weight relation. Weight to weight relation. Discuss with the same concept only. Find out weight of oxygen formed by the decomposition of 2.45 grams of potassium chlorate. Right? What he is asking? He is asking the weight of oxygen formed by the decomposition of 2.45 grams of potassium chlorate. Whenever you are dealing with any such type of question, first of all you need to write the equation and you have to write the balanced equation. Right? What is this? 2 moles of potassium chloride will give 2 moles of potassium chloride and 3 moles of oxygen. Now try to establish the weight relation here. Right? As asked weight relation, what is the weight of 2 moles of potassium chlorate? 2 into 122.5. If 2 into 122.5 grams of potassium chloride undergoes, how many grams of oxygen will be obtained? 3 into 32 grams. Are you getting? Basically this is how much it comes. 245 grams of potassium chloride will give 96 grams of oxygen. And what is asking the question? The question is asking if 2.45 grams undergoes reaction, how many grams of oxygen is obtained? Just a simple cross multiplication. What do you get here? You get 2.45 upon 2 into 122.5, 3 into 32. If you simplify this, you will get the answer will be 0.96 grams it is. This is we call weight to weight relation. Right? We can also establish the fourth one, we can weight to volume relation. Weight to volume relation. Right? Let us discuss with an example. Find out the volume of carbon dioxide liberated by decomposition of 50 grams of calcium carbonate. Right? He is asking us to identify the volume of carbon dioxide liberated by the decomposition of 50 grams of calcium carbonate. First of all, let us write the balanced equation for this. When calcium carbonate is heated, it undergoes thermal decomposition to form calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide gas. So what is their molar ratio? 1 mole of calcium carbonate will give 1 mole of calcium oxide and 1 mole of carbon dioxide. That means if you are talking in terms of weight, what is the molar mass of calcium carbonate? It is 100 grams. 100 grams of calcium carbonate give, right? What is the volume occupied by 1 mole of gas is STP. The question is that STP it is. It basically gives 22.4 liters. Right? And what he is asking? If 50 grams is decomposed, how many liters of carbon dioxide will be produced? So how many liters of carbon dioxide will be produced? Right? 50 into 22.4 4 by 100. How much it comes? It comes to be 11.2 liters. This is we called weight to volume relation, right? He has given the weight of the substance undergoing decomposition and asking us to identify the corresponding volume of carbon dioxide liberated. If 100 grams gives 22.4 liters, then 50 grams should give 11.2 liters, right? This is we called weight to volume relation. Like this, you can establish several relationships which we are going to discuss in the such type of questions in the objective discussion. Right? We will discuss one last relation, that is volume to volume relation. Volume to volume relation. Right? So suppose if find out the volume of HCl formed when 5 ml of H2 gas reacts with 5 ml of Cl2 gas. It is asking us to calculate the volume of HCl formed. What is the relation? 1 mole of H2 gas will react with 1 mole of Cl2 gas to form 2 moles of HCl. So what is asking? He is asking us to calculate the volume. If 5 ml of H2 reacts with 5 ml of Cl2, how many ml of HCl will be formed? It will give 10 ml. How? See, what is their molar ratio of reaction by volume? 1:1:2. Right? They are reacting in the 1:1:2 ratio.